Mr. Tyler.
Yo.
Yo. How are you?
Not bad. Rachel's texting me. She's like, "What should I get done to my car? They say I need brakes, I need tires." I was like, she got a flat the other day. um and so she was like, "Oh, I need a service on my car." So she took it, and then they're like, "We found other damage to other tires." And I was like, "Let's just get your one tire replaced and then see how many miles you have on these tires and what we should do at this point." I'm in the middle of a podcast. She's like sending me her like
Well, I
service
don't think I
report.
don't think you can replace just one tire on those cars because they're all-wheel drive.
I don't know.
Isn't that? I'm pretty sure. I feel I say that, and as I say it out loud, I'm like, am I just scamming myself right now? No, I'm pretty sure you can't, depending on how much wear. They
Yeah.
need to be they need to be within a certain tolerance.
Yeah, I think I think you're actually right because think that we ran into that with her older car. I don't think that these tires are that old.
Mm.
She likes to pull up the curbs real closely, and by pull up the curbs I mean hit them. So she has some sidewall damage
Dude, I will say
along with the rims.
The Volvo's cameras suck.
I don't
I
use cameras, to be honest.
I I do, in the GMC, like in GM's cameras are so good now. Which I actually noticed that one of the trucks, it's an SLT, so it's a nice pickup, but it doesn't have the full, like, it doesn't have, like, I don't even know how many cameras are on my other truck, like 6 cameras or
Yeah.
something. But I just traded in my truck for a Yukon, and it's got cameras all the way around it. I literally can just watch the screen and know exactly where I am.
Oh, really? No,
And
mine just has, like, the backup camera.
no, I mean, this has the top-down view.
That's nice.
So I was actually, parking yesterday. It was pouring out, and it was 5 o'clock in the morning, can't see, it's totally dark, it's pouring out, and I'm just watching the camera, and I'm like, "Alright," and I get out, I'm 2 inches away from the curb. I'm
That's
like,
nice.
I don't have to look at my backup camera, I just look at the top-down view.
I'm not a
Um,
huge camera wall I feel like it throws me for a loop. I'm just a mirrors guy.
yeah. Well, now they have the rearview mirror that you can have it as a rearview mirror, or you can
Yeah.
have it as the camera in the back. And I never use the camera, and I was on the highway the other day, and someone had it set up where they're just driving with the camera on.
Really?
And I'm like, I feel like I would stare at that thing the
Yeah.
whole time. It just it looks like it's playing a movie.
Yeah, I probably just haven't used cameras that are good enough, but I like I
Well,
don't
the
know.
Volvos suck.
Maybe I'm just like an old man where I'm like, I don't trust the cameras.
Mm,
I feel like it's when you I don't know, the mirror thing, it's like all reverse and like even
mm.
backing up a trailer, like I'm fine backing up a trailer using my mirrors. If I turn around because it's not reversed, I
Oh,
can't do
really?
it. Yeah, it's like
That's
I
funny. I was
have like
always
I'm so used to doing it like in
yeah.
reverse that when I try and turn around and look at it, I like go the wrong way. And it's
I,
similar when I try and use the cameras, I like screw it all up.
I can see that. I catch myself every once in a while where it's like, I gotta stop relying on the cameras because I'm gonna run
Yeah.
someone over one
Or
day
like
if I
the flasher on your, rear view that tells you, like, if
yeah.
somebody's there or not, where you're just like, "Oh, it's not flashing, so nobody's next to me." I'm like, "What about the one time it doesn't work and I just smoke
Yeah,
somebody?"
right. It's like, and her car, they the we were ba I was backing up and the camera froze, and I didn't
"What do I
and it
do?"
like reset, and then it was like, of course, I'm like 6 feet further than I thought I was. I was like, "That's the part that is dangerous,"
It's like when
you
you're
know?
recording on this podcast and I'm like, "Oh, wow, I need to make an adjustment to my hat or hair," and then it's the opposite way.
Oh,
And I'm
yeah.
like, "Well,
I did that on the
which
last
side
podcast.
do I do?" I'm like, "It's this side over here," and no, it's backwards.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I mean, I haven't driven a trailer in so long, but I was always the, arm behind the
Turn
chair
around.
and look back. But I would use the mirrors too just to like check my, my distance.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, I'm tooting my own horn here, but like I remember I used to put that trailer in some fucking tight spots.
Yeah.
And I parallel parked it one day. There was 2 spots on the side of the street and I wanted to get lunch, and I remember backing in with the trailer and then landed that in the spot and my truck in the other spot, and I get out and I'm walking in the sandwich shop, and the guy walks out, he goes, "Are you shitting me?" I was like, "What?" He goes, Could you see the light pole that you almost hit?" I'm like, "Nope." I'm like, I just knew there was 2 spots there, and I'm getting lunch."
Dude, getting in is not the difficult part, it's getting out.
Well, yeah, when you
Like, even
swing the
when you
tail.
yeah, when you get it, like, close to the curb, then you go to pull away and it just, like, rubs along the
Yeah,
curb the whole time. There's literally nothing you could do except for, like, jackknife it backwards, hop the curb, and then hop
right.
off.
Yeah,
Just like you're just
and
gonna rub along yeah.
try not to blow the bead on the tire.
It's like, I'm
I,
just gonna rub along the curb for the next 10 feet as the trailer swings up against it.
when I traded the trailer and I got the Mercedes box truck,
Yeah.
and that the dual wheels were so far in from the back, like, I had a tail on that truck that was probably, I don't know, 5 feet maybe,
Yeah.
and I was at a job, and I was talking to one of my guys through the passenger window, and, he's outside, and I'm chatting with him, and, I was like, "Alright, man, I'll see you later," and I pull out the driveway, and I turn left, and I smoke him.
Oh,
Like, the
really?
back of the truck just boom, and he's like, "Seriously?" I'm like, "Yeah, man, that thing's got a tail on it."
Swings. Yeah. You don't realize. One
No.
of the first times I had my truck, I went back into the lumberyard and they didn't have the door all the way open. And I just like just ran into their garage door and they'd just gotten it fixed. And I was like, oh
Amazing.
man,
Yeah,
what a bummer. I think I could do it once. Might as well
yeah.
do it while it's new. It was like the third day I had the truck.
I mean, it sounds like their fault. If it was just repaired, this has happened
Yeah, you should have
before,
that
but
thing all the way up.
put it all the way up.
I remember we put like a 2 by 4 in there. The guy's like, "Don't worry about it." We took like a 2 by 4 in there and straightened it and then just bolted the 2 by 4 to the bottom of the garage door to straighten it out. He said, "Yeah, that's good enough." I was like, "All right, sweet."
Yeah.
My bad.
This podcast is also brought to you by Andersen Windows. It's no surprise that millions of homeowners have chosen the Andersen 400 series windows. Built on decades of engineering and design, these products simply work every single day.
With plenty of options to fit the look and feel of any home, it's no wonder why Andersen 400 series are the most recommended clad wood windows by contractors. Check them out for yourself, along with resources for sizing and installation at andersonwindows.com for dash professionals or the link in the description of this episode. I feel like the
Just
link
click
is
the
just
link. Just
easier.
click the
Yeah.
link,
Hit
guys.
the link.
Yeah, we didn't catch that. This podcast is brought to you by Buildertrend. Life is hard, but running your construction business doesn't have to be.
Life is really I feel like that's a bad way to lead this off because life's super hard right now. But with Buildertrend's to-do features, you can create and assign tasks for your team, subs, and even your clients. Everyone knows what to do, when to do it.
Sorry, I almost fell over my chair because life
Re-
is so hard. I
oh.
literally almost tipped my chair over. Um, But with that being said, yeah, you can set automatic reminders and link tasks to schedule items to guarantee that nothing slips through the cracks, like my chair. You can also template your to-dos so punch list items get copied from job to job without having to manually enter them every time. Speaking of which, we talk about the to-do list, and Lance actually said, "I wonder if Builder Trend could copy and paste the to-do list from job to job." Well, Lance, now that you're listening to this ad, you know that they can.
They're on it. Cut down on all the back and forth when you sign up for Buildertrend's construction management software today and start using to-dos. Schedule a free demo by going to buildertrend.com/mcdemo. So year-end wrap, huh?
Yeah, man. It's been a
Another
great.
year, another year gone by.
I was talking to someone earlier. It's funny. I feel like it's so psychological that we have this, all right, we're at the end of the year, like this is it, we're closing it out, and next year like we're starting over. And and I'm not this like new year, new me kind of guy, but
But
it's
literally nothing changes.
nothing changes. However, it's just it in some ways there is this like, relief when you get to January where it's like, "Okay, let me give this another shot."
Yeah.
And, for,
I'm just gonna get to the end of the year, and it's like the
and
January is really not any different than
no, I
the
mean,
3rd
sure,
week in
like,
December.
you have no more opportunity to figure out your tax liability and stuff like that, but whatever. Like, beyond that, however, I will say, especially anyone that's listened to the last few podcasts, it's like this year for me has just been super humbling in a lot of different ways and has been very challenging and has challenged me professionally and personally, where, there is this sense of like closure. There's been, a lot of things that have just changed that, are a lot of them are effectively changing now, to the point where January is truly there's an opportunity to kind of restart and revamp a lot of the processes in which we um, have implemented for a number of reasons.
And do you feel that you're looking forward to that more this year than other, like, years prior?
Yeah, I mean, for the and this is me sounding like new year, new me, but for a long time, I feel as though I went into January just very much like, all right, let's just pick up where we left off. Where this time I feel like, all right, there's been all of these changes in people and new people and new team members and new processes and new opportunities where in January, it'll effectively be this opportunity to rewrite that. And, you know, I don't know. I think that I've reflected so much in the last 6 months, as to what I want and what we want, and sitting down with my team and talking to those that truly believe in what we're doing, and it's all come down to, the right people and the right process and the right mission. And that mission can change, but understanding, collectively what that mission is and what is a priority.
Yeah. It, I think that obviously you face and experienced a bunch of unique challenges, to this year that are independent of, you know, what I think everyone experienced as a year in a whole. Um, you look at the past few years and COVID and the subsequent years right after that, and then the boom of everything. I think that a lot of us experienced similar challenges. Um, and this year had some of those challenges, but I do somewhat feel that it's one of the first years that things were closer to being normal than they've ever been in a few years, as far as like being able to get material and the amount of work that's on your plate.
Mhm,
Um, and obviously, your challenges are independent of that, but it's been the first year that I felt a normalcy to work, where there wasn't scarcity, there wasn't an abundance of things. I think that it's like with interest rates going up, um, less phone calls, less inquiries for bigger projects, people wanting to get stuff done tomorrow. I think people are being more realistic with budget, timeline, and everything else. So that was good. But I too experienced a bunch of struggles as far as jobs go, and that are independent of what's going on in the industry. But I'm definitely looking forward to slowing down a little bit as the holidays present themselves here, and regrouping and getting my feet back underneath of me, because I feel that for the past however many months it's just been go go go, keep your head above water, the year's coming to a close, the year's coming to a close, and it just keeps going, and I'm like,
mhm.
all right, I'm through the thick of it now. I'm gonna punch the rest of these little things out, and then again, like, restart in the new year, which I am looking forward to. There's I think that 2023, it was a really good year for me, but it required a lot of work, and it also presented a lot of unique opportunities, podcast related, work related, that I'm excited about for 2024. So I have that to look forward to.
What do you think that will be the biggest change that you'll do next year based on what you learned this year?
Um, Really, it's not even a change. It's a lot of my struggles were not necessarily self inflicted, because I signed up for somebody else's program.
Mm,
And for years I had standards that I really wouldn't stray from, and I guess I got comfortable, I got complacent, I let my guard down, and I did some work, that wasn't necessarily lined up the way that I typically do it, and I let my guard down some, and it's not that, I mean, like, financially, it was lucrative, I made money, it was just a lot of headaches, and at the end of the day, I want to look back on what I'm doing and be super proud of it, and I don't wanna struggle to get there, and I don't want that to come at the expense of my customers, or myself, so I think that the biggest thing is just to stick to my roots, stick to my guns, and know that over the past dozen or so years of being in business, I know what works for me, and I know what doesn't work, and to stick to my processes and my systems because they're in place for a reason. And as time passes, sometimes you forget about those things, or the sting of a frustrating job lessens. Um, and I think that this was a reminder where it's like, hey, do your thing and don't stray from that. Because you know what makes you money, you know what works for you, and I'm going to take that into 2024 most definitely.
yeah, I mean, I think, I feel like I can relate to you in the sense that you let your when you let your guard down and you took on things that were someone else's, um what did you say? I said mission, but you said something else.
Program.
Program. Um, and I think about the challenges that I've faced, and they're primarily centered around leadership and my role in the different companies. And and transparently, I think that I pulled myself out of the role more than I intended to, and basically put myself in a position where I was trying to delegate too much, and then trying to counteract that with being a micromanager. Um,
It For me, I think that this year, definitely for you, definitely for me, like, while parts of it were great, parts of it sucked, like, there were so many great lessons to be learned, um, that it's an investment in yourself long term. It's an investment in your company, in your customers, in your product long term. Like, I learned so many things this year, that I'd kind of already had known, but just really reaffirmed them for me.
mm,
Um, which, for the next 5 years is going to make business that much better. Is going to make my decision making so much better, so much easier. Uh, it just it really is a learning experience. And
mm,
as much as some things suck, I think there were a lot of takeaways from this year that, like, it's like, yeah, I for the next 5 years, I won't be making that mistake again. Um, so luckily I was able to, like, financially it didn't affect me. But I definitely will make my life a lot easier moving forward. So that's the big takeaway for me, that there was definitely a lot of lessons to be learned, and just reminders of things that would, like, I had put into place that had gotten me here, and I'm gonna stick to those things because they
yeah,
work for me. And maybe they
right.
don't work for everyone else, and maybe they're not everyone else's standards, but, like, they work for me, and I know that they work for me. So yeah, that's what I should do. Like, and so
Yeah,
moving forward, that's what I'm going to do.
and you know I think about that on my side where I was trying to adapt to everyone. I was just trying to, cater to the way everyone wanted to be treated, or everyone wanted to, produce results. And there was a lot of things I was letting slip because it wasn't, and it wasn't the way I would do it. It wasn't my standard, and that's where ultimately I think I paid the price. Is just, I let stuff slip that shouldn't have slipped, and I ended up in a position where I you know I was too removed to correct it.
Yeah. I think, what I know, a lot of people don't who work for you, probably don't realize, and maybe it's just not enough face time or knowing your motivations for things. But I think that if people were to understand it a lot offline, I tell you all the time, it's like put the energy into the people who care about you and who are there for you and who are long term have your back, because I think a lot of times your motivation is to give people opportunity for them to be able to expunge as much as or extract as much as they can out of their opportunity, out of their position. And you're handing these things off as if these people just like you're giving them an opportunity to make as much as they want, to do as much as they want, and a lot of these people don't necessarily want that. And I think that there's just like a misalignment there between what you think they want and what you're looking to provide for them and what they actually want, and they don't understand that like so much of what you're doing um, is because you're trying to give them as much as you possibly can and also give them as much freedom to grow. And they see it as you abandoning them or like detaching from them when you're actually trying to do the opposite.
Mm,
Um, and I think that most people who are around you or work for you or have a relationship with you probably don't see that side of you because you keep a lot of that in. Like you, although we speak on the podcast, there's more stuff that I know offline that whether it frustrates you, it empowers you, it bothers you. Like I know your motivations for doing things, and for the most part, it's to help everyone out. Um,
right.
and I don't think that a lot of people see that. Obviously, you put a certain image across online, professionally and everything else, but you don't necessarily let people in to see like the emotional side of things. And I
And
think
it's
it,
the balance of, like, sorry to cut you off, but it's like I that's where I struggle is, like, at what point do I have to explain everything I do?
uh, I don't think that you have to. I just I don't think most people who are around you are in touch with that part of yourself, because I think that a lot of your personal life is private. I think that like emotionally, you're always trying to remain strong for everyone and be this like
Mm,
this dignified leader. And that everything's good, everything's right, we're going to make it all right. And you never allude to what's actually going on until they hear it from somebody else, or it comes out on a podcast or whatever it may be. um and again, I think that people don't realize that like everything that you're doing, obviously a part of that's for you and for your family and for what you want, but like your generosity and what you give people and what you pay people and what you put into place for the company and everything else is not necessarily just for you. And I don't think that a lot of people see that side of you.
yeah. It's you know, I'm not gonna overshare on this because it would be incorrect of me to do so, but I think that that is directly related to a lot of the um, feedback I've gotten from some people that have left. Is that they had this perceived notion of the things that I did and how it benefited me without understanding my decisions and how some of them were necessary for the success of the business.
Yeah.
And I think that those are the most challenging times where it's kind of like when it's basically telling me that I'm a liar or I'm selfish, and it's like, but you have no idea what I just went through in order
Yeah.
to keep the company going through COVID. It's like, and the fact that I have to sit down and communicate that to you, I struggle with, where it's like like I want to have a culture in which we trust each other. Like, I need to trust you. If I don't trust you, then you will be removed from the company. And if you don't trust me, then you're probably gonna quit. And it's like, well, what am I doing? What am I doing wrong that is putting you in a position where you don't trust me? Where the reality is, if I explain to you what I'm doing and how this was necessary in order for us to succeed, would you have a different perception? And it's the classic example of, like, it's like when you perpetuate an argument in your mind, where it's like you build this whole, like, scenario that you're going to say like this is, oh, I see what he's doing, and I've already developed a story in my mind that that is, in fact accurate.
Yeah.
When
Or
it's
what's
like,
happening.
yeah, what's happening, instead of having a conversation with me.
Yeah, I
And
agree.
but
Go ahead.
at the end of the day, it's like, and yeah, you and I chat, and there's probably three other people that I talk to on a similar level, and ultimately it comes down to, listen, like, I not everyone not everyone's going to understand that nor care to understand that, and everyone has their own mission, and that mission might have been aligned with what we were doing for the first 10 years of NS Builders. But dude, we're this is year 10. That's a huge milestone in my mind, and it's a perfect opportunity to be new year, new me, but
Yeah.
new decade, new me, right? But you know, I have to come to terms with that. And listen, anyone that's listening, I like, first off, I appreciate people reaching out and be like, "Hey, man, are you okay?" I am okay. I'm more than okay. I am choosing to talk about this as much as I can because I find that it helps a lot of people, and a lot of people reach out and say, "Hey, listen, this is, I'm going through something similar," and I'm not doing it because I want. I'm not doing it for.
Pity or
Uh,
sympathy.
yeah, I'm doing it because I find that this is an important part of the business, and when people are open and transparent with me, I find it to be, in one light, refreshing that I'm not the only one dealing with bullshit, but in the other light, being able to take the cues and the tips on how to work through it. And and with that being said, it's like, all right, you know what? This is where I'm at. There's people that have left, there's people that I have fired, there's people that will leave. There, like, all of that is the reality. And at the end of the day, I need to continue on my mission. And I need to focus on my mission. And if I can't change my mission because someone doesn't agree with it. I need to communicate my mission. I gotta communicate what we're trying to accomplish in a way that as transparently as I can, that hopefully encourages those that believe in it to be part of it. But ultimately, people will come, people will go, and it's, I need to accept that.
Yeah, and the other thing to consider, not necessarily even with respect to you, but you can't like pass judgment on what somebody's doing or the way that somebody acts when you're not in their shoes and you don't understand the gravity of what's going on and what makes them tick and what they've experienced and what their past life has been like. So if you don't like the way that somebody runs a business or you don't like working for somebody, you're entitled to your opinion. You're entitled to leave, but you can't really pass judgment on the way that they operate a business until you've been put in their shoes. And
But they
you know,
will, and that's just the reality.
it is, and it's you don't, like I said to you, if somebody were in your position and they had the family and the house and the business and the responsibility and everything else, I think that they would feel a lot different about you and who you are if they knew, right? If
Mhm,
they walked in your shoes, they would know. And it's the same thing with me. I've had people leave because my standards are too high, because I work too much, um, for whatever reasons, and it's like, listen, we're in two completely different stages of our lives, and we will always be. And you don't know what I feel on a daily basis. You don't understand the weight that's on my shoulders emotionally, financially. So if it's not working, it's not working, but you can't pass judgment on that until you're in my boat or until you go start your own business and you
mhm,
see the challenges that revolve around what this is, right? And you're paying for that financially, emotionally. It's tough, and I think that other business owners understand that, and that's the people who are reaching out and saying, "Hey, are you
mhm,
okay? I get this. I've been there." And a lot of times as an employee, you don't understand that. Just like I don't understand every aspect of being an employee because for
mhm,
most of my life I wasn't in it. Like when I look at my adult life, I've been self-employed most of my adult life, so I don't know what it's like to be an employee. I'm not in touch with that. So
Mhm.
I can't necessarily pass judgment on somebody where it's like, I think that if I were an employee, I would be this way. I don't know. I don't know what it's like to be 38 and to work for someone. I can't answer that. So I think that even if things aren't working out, you can't necessarily pass judgment on somebody until you've been in their position, and what you may see or experience at face value.
Mhm.
If you do create that narrative in your mind that it's this or this person's doing it for that, like, sit down and talk to them, ask them what's up, ask them what's making them tick while you're making the decisions that you are, and maybe it will change your outlook on working for that person, being an employee. Maybe it will help your boss change the way that he or she acts because they're just not in tune with that. That everyone has their own life and has a million things going on, and you can't see inside somebody's head. You can't see what's driving them and everything else. But I think that helps everyone learn, and it's going to make you, this year is going to make you a better business owner and make better decisions. Um, and definitely be the best version of yourself. I always feel that all of these lessons and these struggles and the harder experiences you have in life are what shapes you and really propels you to where you want to be. If you had a gravy year this past year, like, you probably wouldn't implement changes that would affect your business two,
Yeah.
3, 5, 10 years from now.
And
Uh,
that's what I said a couple podcasts ago where it's like when things are hard, it's when I work the hardest. When, something is wrong, it's like you have 2 options. You give up or you put your head down and you figure it out. And I think that my head's been down so much recently where, you know, I'm realizing that, there was a lot of gravy for a while, or so I thought. I thought things were getting done, appropriately or tracked appropriately. And, when stuff unravels, in the moment, it's just a quick unravel. But then, when you peel the curtain back a little bit further, you realize, man, this is a way bigger issue, and this wasn't being done correctly. And look at all this cleanup work I have to do.
yeah,
And that's something that we're dealing with right now. Like you know, we're going through an intense cleanup within some of our processes in the business. And it's super frustrating because for 5 years or something, or to the tune of 5 years, I had thought that process was smooth. And I had my challenges with it, and I thought that, but at the end of the day, I was like, it's smooth. And now I'm in a position where it's like it wasn't smooth, and I'm actually left with a little bit of shit I got to clean up. And now, and that's fine. But what it's making me do is realize that, okay, like, where did I go wrong? What was I not asking? What was I not looking at? What was I not tracking appropriately? I think that, and ultimately, like, that's where my excitement comes from, is that, okay, now that I know what I need to be looking at, it's now I can throttle it. Now I can
yeah,
just, I can dial what I want, and directly related to the financials. So it's like, hey, if I'm tracking this and looking at it, at the end of the day, it's like what dials you need to turn, then turn them. And unless you're looking at it, unless you understand, where those numbers are at, like, how do you know what you have to dial?
yeah,
And the HR side, it's the project management side, it's the, site cleanliness, like, all of these things. It's like you think all of this is being taken care of. And don't get me wrong, like, we have some great people on our team. Like, there's no doubt about that. There's some great people on our team that are here. We have had very direct conversations about, like, hey, this is where we're at. This is what we're trying to do. If you want to be on board, I want you on board. We are very much committed to the mission, and I'm not going away from that. And I've also, communicated, like, but at the end of the day, if you don't want to be part of it, that's fine. Let me know sooner than later. I'd rather you just be super upfront with me now because I'm not changing. I'm not doing this. I'm not giving up. I'm not going to change course. I'm not interested in that. What I am interested in is focusing on the big picture and making sure that the people here also want the same thing.
Yeah,
And again, like having that, trying to be very upfront and like just be upfront. If you don't want to do this, that's fine. I will support you. Like you said, I don't know, I don't fully understand the employee side. I haven't been an employee for 10 years. But when I sense that my employees are struggling, I sit down. I don't I'm not a professional at that, but I'll sit down and find out what are you struggling with? It's like my bills, I can't make a save. I can't save any money. I can't afford this. I can't afford that. And I try to share my experiences with people. It's like I don't like, all right, well, I know that you're making, the high like what your market like what your market what the market can afford to pay you. If anything, I'm probably on the higher side. I believe. I don't know. But, like, I'm just gonna make the assumption that I'm right where I need to be or on the higher side. I try to be super generous. I try to outline a good career path for people, but that doesn't mean that their home life is gravy, and that also doesn't mean that they're making all the right decisions at home, which I can't control. But I
I
try to at least share my experience, like, "Hey, this is how I've been able to do these things." And yes, I'm an employer and I have maybe more freedom in terms of that, but there's ways to do it, and everyone it's just a matter of how much effort you're willing to put into the process and sometimes it's a matter of how much risk you wanna take.
I th I think the other difficult aspect of being so open and public and transparent with your business, uh, what you're going through is that things can be taken out of context,
Mm,
and that people will really hold you to your words. And I think that when you paint a picture of yourself or your business or what you put out, right? Even the work that you do and you see the stuff that you post that Ken posts, and you see these beautiful polished pictures and photos, and yeah, like you're completely open and honest about mistakes that you made. People think that your life is perfect and
mhm,
that you're living the dream and you have everything that you need, and you're pulling all the financial benefits of owning a business and everything else, and they see what you put out and they believe what they see, and they choose to believe what they see, and
mhm,
they don't necessarily have an understanding and a comprehension of everything that's involved with that. And I think that that leads to people making biased decisions and uninformed decisions about what your life is like, because they see what NS Builders portrays itself as online, and I think that that's not necessarily fair for people to do. Like I said, oftentimes if people were to understand the decision making and the anxiety and how much stress and pressure is on any of us any given day, that they would never sign up for that. They'd be like, "Oh, yeah, I'll show up to work and throw my tool belt on and work 8, 10 hours every day and get a paycheck."
yeah.
Um, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like,
No,
I
but
don't
it's like there's, like, this weird back and forth resentment.
yeah, but I also wonder how many people who have, like, a close tie and connection to their boss, like, love their boss,
Right.
right? Like, how many people do you know like, hate their boss? I feel like most people I talk to hate their bosses or hate their work and hate their job, and, like, I don't know how different this is from what most people experience, and the turnover and people who are unhappy because of this and that. Like, are these people just gonna be unhappy regardless of where they go because they're unhappy in life and their unhappiness is manifesting itself through work right now? Like,
Yeah, it's hard to know, right?
Like, the grass is always greener, I'm gonna go get another job, and then a year later, it's they have the same issues with different people, and there's, like, a common denominator in all of these equations, and it's that person, and to sit there and question everything that you're doing because of other people, um, it's tough. I don't know what's right, and I don't know what's wrong,
Mhm.
but I think it's definitely time for a reset and, like, to get your touch points down and to make some changes, and I think that, like you said, what you probably saw as empowering people to make the decisions that they want and to basically control their own destiny, maybe that's not the move. Like, maybe people, they want to feel as though you are there more for them rather than be like, "Hey, this is you." Like, and that's nice, but at the end of the day, like, some people, they don't want that amount of responsibility, or they wanna know that you have their back.
Right.
Um, but it's tough. You're gonna have to figure that out, and, like, there's lessons to take from this year just like there were last year, and some hurt more than others, but at the end of the day, like, this is all about progression and bettering yourself, and the fact that you're on here talking about it and not, like, pretending that everything is amazing. Like, would these same people be just as upset if you weren't talking about this? Like, is the issue that you're saying that things aren't going well and that you're struggling through certain aspects of the business right now, would they rather you just not say that or, like, pretend that everything's perfect?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, like, I don't know. I think that a lot of this does come back to the fact that, it's I do talk about it, you know? And if I didn't talk about it and there was no podcast and there was no videos, truthfully, I think I would be, I'm not gonna say in a better position. I would be in a very different position, and and people would have a different opinion of me. And that's the interesting thing that I've gotten the most feedback on. I've had other builders in my network that I've never spoken to call me to check in on me because of the feedback that they've heard, and it's centered around from the social media side. I'm being very honest right now. It's centered around my visibility on social media and how it is being perceived. And the perception is that I'm not honest. And that was when that guy called me, I was very confused. Like, I remember I was walking to dinner, meeting Meg and the kids, and I got that call and I was like, "What?" And he was like, "I'm not trying to call and start shit with you. I know what you're doing. You're doing something great for the industry. You're sharing, you're helping promote the trades, you're also building your business, but the perception is different." And I think I texted you after. I
Yeah, you
questioned
did.
everything. I was like, "Am I crazy?
But
Am I doing something that is am I actually promoting myself in a way that's dishonest?" And I sat with that for a day or 2 and realized, no, like, I'm not lying about anything. Like, it would be very hard, I think, at least from my viewpoint, like, it would be very hard for me to lie.
yeah.
Like, there's so much of what we do that is just promoted through all these channels. Do I sometimes talk about best practice? Like, "Hey, this is how we, do punch list." And, on the last 2 jobs, we didn't do it that way? Of course. Like, the intent is to be helpful to, who's listening, not like, "Hey, this is the way we do punch lists. It's kind of a shit show, and we have all these different color tapes that actually mean nothing." No, I'm gonna say, like, "No, we try to be very organized. We use one color tape for this, one color tape for that." Yeah, that might be an expansion of the truth, because I'm gonna tell you how the process in which we intend to do it is, but it's not this facade of like, "Hey, we have, we I'm going down a rabbit hole." But the point is like that if that's the perception, it would be better. I would better serve that by not doing any of this.
Yeah, but don't you think that, like, putting yourself out there into the public world is going to create a very, like, polarizing
Yes. And I think that's where,
opinions
like,
of you? Like, people are going to love you or they're going to
yes.
hate you.
And that's and the like, the cliche haters, like, you only know you made it when you have haters. Like, as dumb as that is, like, that's what this is. And I'm not saying these people are haters, I'm just saying, like, when you get that sort of backlash, you realize that you've made such an impact that you've now divided these people into either they support you or are completely against you.
But I just with the position that you're in, your role that you're in, and how you've documented everything, I think that that's just what you have to expect.
Right, and be okay with, which I'm with you.
That's
It's
tough
just it
though.
of course, because, like I said, in that moment, I'm like, "Maybe I shouldn't do any of this. Maybe I should just focus on the business and not do the podcast and not film everything." Like, it would be my life would be so much easier.
Yeah.
Like, so much easier. But I'm not like a big part of why we do all this is, beyond, marketing for my own company, I'm trying to help anyone that's listening. That's what you're doing. That's what I'm doing. That's what we're all like. That's what we're doing here is, having the opportunity to help. Like, I wish that there was someone like us that documented their process so we could learn from it. Sure, Matt, has been documenting YouTube longer than I, and I've watched a bunch of his stuff. It's like in any opportunity I see that someone has shared their process in which they run a business or build a house, I'm going on a deep dive until I find out all the details. Like, that's
Yeah.
just so I was like, no one's doing it to the level that we are, so I'll do it. And you're absolutely right. It's like you have to expect the fact that there's going to be this polarizing opinion on who you are and what you do.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same conversation we had the other day where, like, somebody's responding negatively to a clip that was pulled from a podcast that's completely taken
Yeah.
out of context. And whether that's the point or not, it's still frustrating. And you were basically like, listen, it's not our job and it's not up to us as to how this is received or what people want to do with it. Like, we're doing our job by setting the time aside and creating the content and recording and then putting it out there, and like what happens with it at that point is not up to us. And sometimes you just have to look at things from that perspective. Like, if you're putting out content to stir up bullshit or to create like angst within the community or to stir up drama or for fame or fortune, or like, you're going to expect it. But if you can sit there and you can put out the content that you are and saying that I'm truly trying to help people, I'm trying to market my business, and I'm trying to gain an exposure for myself and what I'm looking to do 5, 10 years down the road, this is going to help me. It's going to help my employees. It's going to help the industry as a whole. If people don't like you for that, it's easier said than done. But like, what are you going to do? Like, you have to know and you have to go into it with the mindset that, like, yeah, this is what I believe is the best path for me. And if people don't agree with it or people don't like you for it or people don't like working for you and think that, like, this isn't reality, what you're portraying is different than what it's like on the job site, like, that's life, that's business, like, everything that I like. Part of the reason that I manage my company and stay the size that I am is because, like, I want to be able to practice what I preach. I want the experience and I want the job to be what I allude it to be online. And like, whether that's good or that's bad, whether I am documenting great aspects of the job or shitty aspects of the job, I want to be able to control that. The bigger you grow, the harder that is to do. But regardless of if it's 100% accurate or not, and like, to make a decision to document that and then put systems in place to better yourself and then to put that out there for the general population or construction industry to consume and be like, "Hey, these are the mistakes that we made. We're going to look to implement these processes. Hopefully this helps you out." Like, if you don't like it, walk away from it. If it's not good content for you, like, walk away from it. If it you think it's bullshit, walk away from it. Nobody's forcing you nobody's forcing you to work for Nick, nobody's forcing you to work for me, nobody's forcing you to be on Instagram, nobody's forcing you to hire either of us. Just, like, go another path.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah, and I
and
think that ultimately that's where a lot I think that's where people took it. They took another path. They were like, "All right, then this is Nick's. I'm gonna quit. I'm gonna go work for this guy. Like that's fine."
But I don't
You know,
think, and that's somewhat how we started this conversation. I don't think that those people or other people who pass that judgment understand your true motivation, and
maybe.
that
Yeah.
like realistically a lot of what you do is not for you.
Mhm.
I think that they see your life and what you have and like the image of NS builders, and they jump to a lot of conclusions. And I don't think that they realize how much pressure you put on yourself to be able to provide for everyone else and give them as much opportunity as you can. Like I know personally that a lot of what you do, even with our relationship with the podcast, with everything else, it's like conceding a lot of time and energy to a relationship and to a platform that like maybe financially isn't the most lucrative thing that we've ever done. And that's not just for you, for me, for anyone. Like it's for a lot of people. And I don't, people don't see what I see, what Doug sees, what a lot of other people who are involved in your life see. And it's unfortunate because there's a lot more to it than what you see online. And to jump to those conclusions is unjust and unfair. But there's, at the end of the day, there's not that much you can do about it.
No. And I think with that, happy New Year. And
Happy New Year.
I'm not stopping. I'm gonna keep
Yeah.
sharing, and we'll create the big divide between those that share and those that don't.
You're either with me or you're
Or you're
not.
not.
New Year, it's crazy. This time of year, I I have a love-hate relationship with this time of year.
Well, it's your birthday.
I know, dude. 38 this year.
38.
That's old. That's old.
Yeah.
Getting old. I'm
Almost
actually
40.
excited for some like downtime this year. It's gonna be nice.
Yeah.
Um, I have a lot of stuff to do. The girls are like getting to an age where spending time with them is more enjoyable. Minus the fighting between them, but
Yeah, right.
I'm looking forward to having a little bit of time off this year. Ask me again after the new year. Um, but every other year, I feel like leading up to the holidays, I'm like, just anxious about it, and then it's like working straight up until Christmas Eve, and then like by the time you wind down, you're just anxious to get back to work for the next year. And I have a bunch of things on my list that I want to get done and start working on for next year. That I'm really looking at this as an opportunity to head into next year with like a fresh start and really revitalized and come at it with some new energy. So I'm looking forward to it. Definitely going to be another good year. There's a lot on our plate and a lot of good things to look forward to. So I'm excited for 2024. Except for 38, that's old.
Mm. You get
39 the next year, then 40. Jeez,
it's all uphill from now.
I know. I haven't peaked yet. I'm still waiting.
Guys, as always, we appreciate you guys supporting us for another year. We're rolling into 2025. No, 2023. Whoa, got ahead of myself there.
24. We could save this for another
20
year.
2024 on a high, and excited for all that we have planned. As always, big thanks to our sponsors, Buildertrend and Andersen Windows, and all you guys listening. Make sure you head over to moderncraftsman.co, buy some merch, leave us a review on the podcast platform of your choice. And as the cliche saying goes, we'll see you next year.
Hell yeah.